I think you can do there, like people say like, what is it off limits? And I am of the opinion that nothing is off limits if you can pull it off. Now, you're probably guy doing Randy Watson just not funny enough to be able to pull that off. You might have black friends, but you're just not, you're not getting it. You're a grown ass man who is in a position of power. You're supposed to have some kind of respect for the office and not do this stupid crap because you're old enough to know better. He does a really great like Yiddish accent. Like he's really good. So I have no problem with Eddie Murphy. He disappeared into it. It was really great. I have more problem with white chicks just because of the uncanny valley than I do with Eddie Murphy for doing an amazing Jewish guy.
Well, he wants to follow in that same pattern. He says, like Eddie or Dave Chappelle, I don't go around walking on eggshells, worried about hurting someone's feelings, but I never intended for this to be a racist issue. And maybe he didn't, maybe it is just ignorance, but Eddie Murphy doing something in the 80s or Dave Chappelle doing something does not mean that you never have to think about anything you do ever.
The best white face that I've ever seen is Eddie Murphy, and it's not on in Coming to America. It's on SNL when he does a bit about I wanted to see what it was like to be white, and when he puts on the whole thing and he learns how to walk with his butt real tight. And he goes and is like, when white people are alone, they give things to each other. And it's ridiculous and insane, and I love it. It's so good. It's an old SNL sketch from when he came back to host.
Oh, nice.
Great.
Nice. Yeah. And I don't know Farron Hamlin. I don't know if he did it intending like, I want to make, I don't know, but that is not the only thing, the only motivation that makes it bad. I get that you would think that, and I'm sure you're hurt or whatever on some level. I would say that your hurt doesn't matter as much as this historic hurt against this entire people, but ignorance is also a thing that you can try to strive to move past.
And what a place of privilege when he has like, well, this happened, but the flip side, he didn't have one. He had to take Jewish people's the same way he had to just take a black guy's thing. Like, why do you need it? Why do you need it? You don't. Stop it.
Exactly. Well, that's our garbage people, but what about the community? 36,000 of you voted, and here's what we've got for this week. Coming in at number 5 with 6% of the vote are just right wingers for their cringy "Let's Go Brandon" campaign. Oh, come on. That should have been number 1. That is really, really bad. Anyway, at number 4 with 10% of the vote is the Florida Surgeon General for not wearing a mask around the immunocompromised. At number 3 with 16% of the vote is Elon Musk for criticizing taxes as his net worth soars. Number 2 with 26% of the vote is Ted Cruz for defending the use of Nazi salutes. That was a funny one. And at number 1, the garbage person of the week with 43% of the vote is Trump Jr. for selling shirts mocking the Alec Baldwin shooting. All garbage. There was a lot of garbage. I think that the judge for the victim thing should have been on there, but some of those were great. I disagree. I think out of those, it should be the "Let's Go Brandon" people. But thank you to everybody who voted, and thank you to Brett.
Yep,
for being on the show.
To see John's take on how this community garbage person vote was stolen. Check the Wall Street Journal this weekend when he has a full-page op-ed about voter irregularity in the community tab.
Thank you. It was nice of them. It wasn't like a special favor or anything, but it was nice of them to publish me. Anyway, Brett, thank you. Everybody can watch Brett later on Game Busters, a little bit of murder trivia. And thank you, Brett. Have a good one.
You too.
Thank you, everybody. Watch the first hour of the Young Turks. The Nina Turk is going to be in here in the flesh with Cenk Uygur and with myself. It's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
All right, what's happening? It's indisputable. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Joining me to break down news of the day, we have Wosny Lambre, host of Wosny at 10 p.m. Eastern Time Tuesdays at twitch.tv/TYT, host of Woke Bros, writer at The Ringer. And Travis Nix will join me in the bullpen. We're going to talk about Build Back Better and general taxation, okay? Top news story of the day. Eminent domain. Eminent domain is this amazing ability for the government to take your property, okay? There's an election in the city of Atlanta. An elder who says she was displaced by the former mayor, who is now trying to be mayor again, had this to say.
My heart is saying I'm gonna allow you to ask your question, step up and ask your question, and that will be the last question.
Hey Mo, I'm sorry, I'm running. I've got to leave. We had to stop at 7:15.
Okay, all right.
Excuse me, before you leave, Mayor Reed, before you leave.
Okay, let's remember to be respectful of everybody, please.
You was not gonna let me ask my question.
Oh, okay.
So I'm asking him before you leave, okay? Before you leave. My name is Bertha. My husband is Robert Darden. The flood victims, to assure us that we would not have to leave our homes, we would not have to move out our homes, and we would not be displaced. Those are the words that came out of your mouth to me and my husband. Few years later, we get letters saying, we want to buy your house. I said, buy the house? You just told us we didn't have to move out our house. Tanya Washington house never flooded. But our house, basement flooded. And you said we'll never have to move. And then we get sued. The code inspectors come out trying to find fault to condemn our house, to force us, saying that if this is not done, this is not done, and that is not done, they're gonna charge us $200 a day until it's done, or else within 30 days, you will be evicted under your administration. After we went to court, they withheld evidence that we could have used to resolve it, but then sent documents after the city ruled in favor of taking our home. Took a name off the deeds to our home. And here we are, seniors. Where we gonna live? Where we gonna stay? But you told us we didn't have to move out of our home. You was working on a short-term and long-term plan. That's what you told us. And then your engineers lied. They lied in court. They lied in court. Your engineers lied in court. Because we hired an engineer, 40-year experienced engineer, went through those documents, found the evidence under your administration. So, Kasim Reed, I want to know why you're trying to get back in office again. To lie some more? To lie some more? Because we have heard all the lies we can from you and your administration.
The former Atlanta mayor did respond. Here's his response.
What I'm going to do is apologize to you from my heart. I made the best decision that I could make at the time because we were worried about severe weather events killing people. That was the best information that we had at the time. We made the best judgment based upon the information that we were receiving regarding flooding. And that's what I was trying to do. So I want to apologize to you, and I hope that if I am ever in position as mayor again, that I will be able to treat you and your husband fairly and better than we did. But I apologize to you and your husband tonight. And what you just shared has affected me deeply, and I hope that we will be able to make it better.
You hope? You apologize? Let me give some background to this. Kim Scott, who was an engineer with the city of Atlanta, Kim Scott became a whistleblower. She put it in writing in an email while she was an engineer for the city and said, we do not have justification through data to remove these people from their homes. She said it, she put it in an email, and she put that email out to other city workers who were in charge of this project. You know what they did to her? They demoted her and then they fired her. I had a conversation with her just a few days ago and she stands by her word. There's another resident of Peoplestown. Her name is Professor Tanya Washington. She's a professor of law at Georgia State School of Law. She's being displaced as well. The city took all of their names off the deed. They no longer own their properties. Now, according to Mrs. Darden, the mayor promised when he was in office, this would not happen. Nobody would be displaced. They utilized eminent domain. When they refused to leave, they took their names off the property. The husband of Mrs. Darden, the woman you just heard, has worked for the city of Atlanta for 30 years. 30 years. It gets deeper. The Atlanta NAACP actually, for the first time in its history, counter-endorsed Mayor Reed for office. Came out with a letter from the executive committee and said anybody but him. And then the national chapter or the national organization of the NAACP came out against the local chapter and said they were out of line. Once again, Mrs. Darden, there's no objection about her truthfulness. She is telling the truth. Those residents were promised they would not be displaced, and they were. The city violated disclosure rules, did not present evidence as they were ordered to by the judge, and the judge in the city still ruled in the favor of the city. I wonder why. All right, Big Walls, what are your thoughts here?
You know, it's funny, rarely do we ever see eminent domain affect the likes of an Amazon factory or a JP Morgan Chase building or any of that, right? It's only ever used when they want to displace farmers in Nebraska and Iowa. Local farmers, by the way, for the Keystone Pipeline, or when, Kasim Reed and his cronies want to take up people's lands in Atlanta. And another thing that comes to mind, Brother Richie, is I become disillusioned with the concept of representation because Kasim Reed is a black man, but guess what? He's a black elite. And elites tend to side with elites, no matter their race, color, or creed. That guy is gonna curry favor with the business interests and the elite interests in that community over normal, everyday working people damn near every single time. And so it's sad to see this. And then of course, the NAACP, I mean, fancy Negro Central over there. Of course, the national sort of apparatus of the NAACP is backing Kasim Reed because he's one of them. And again, like these are black folks, but guess what? These are elite black folks, and they're gonna side with elite interests at damn near every single turn, and it's kind of disheartening to see.
Yeah, tremendously. And I know I would get some flack from people in the community because I dare tell the truth about this situation. But I care much more about people like Mrs. Darden, her husband that worked blood, sweat, and tears for 30 years for that city. Tanya Washington, who has remained in that community, and others who are looking for justice still in their community. Right now, they still do not own the homes that they paid for. All right, let me show you how radicalization takes place. Tucker Carlson has created a terrorist recruitment video. Make no mistake about what he's doing. Here it is.
The domestic war on terror is here, is coming after half of the country.
The helicopters have left Afghanistan, and now they've landed here at home.
And the left is hunting the right, sticking them in Guantanamo Bay for American citizens, leaving them there to rot.
We are dealing with an insurgency in the United States.
Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to homeland.
I've been told that I'm a white nationalist. Me.
FBI,
they've begun to fight a new enemy in a new war on terror.
Not Al-Qaeda, white supremacy.
False flags have happened in this country. One of which may have been January 6th.
His truth is marching on.
Yeah, this is a Tucker Carlson documentary. He's backing this, okay? He's backing this. Extreme rhetoric meant to do what? Meant to make white supremacists and by extension, other white bigots especially mad, upset, angry enough to do violence. Now make no mistake about it, Tucker's just trying to make some money. But he'll make money on the backs of vulnerable and bigoted racist individuals. And that's what he's doing here. Let me give you some more background. Since the release of this trailer, which has been panned dangerous propaganda, rewriting or trying to rewrite history, Fox News, they are trying to distance themselves from this patriot purge documentary. The trailer's overall thrust is that alleged Capitol rioters are being unjustly persecuted. And it puts forth several false claims, such as January 6th may have been a false flag, that Americans are being imprisoned in Guantanamo Bay, and the leftists are hunting down conservatives. That's all part of the dogma in this propaganda piece. The video splices clips of interviews with Carlson, Stop the Steal organizer Ali Alexander, and others, with footage of President Joe Biden and Osama bin Laden, the KKK, Ku Klux Klans, war scenes, waterboarding, and the riot itself, okay? The Daily Dot had an update today. Fox News is not involved in the documentary and wants that made very clear. So now Fox News, they're saying, oh, no. This is, you see, this is a Tucker Carlson thing, and it's going to be on the other format, not Fox News proper. Let's make that distinction, okay? According to the Daily Dot, in our story, the Daily Dot did not mention that the show had Fox News backing just as it was being released by Carlson. But after we ran it, Fox News emailed the Daily Dot with an update request. Update request. Let it be known that we're okay with the propaganda. Just make sure you don't put our name in it. Let it be known. Update request. Fox News wants to distance themselves from this documentary without actually calling the documentary what it is: dangerous propaganda. Saying to the Daily Dot in an email, and I quote, can you please add so it's clear that these new episodes are for Fox Nation? Wait a minute, guys. Who owns Fox Nation? Oh, Fox News. You got, okay, it's your subsidiary. It's like your little sister. You want to blame it on the little sister here, okay? Let it be known I want everybody to get this clear. This is not a Fox News production. It is a Fox News subsidiary production. That makes a difference. The subscription-based streaming platform that is behind the plate wall. I don't see that noted anywhere in the piece. Tucker Carlson Originals is not for the channel. Now take that, Daily Dot. Wow. Okay. Waz, you saw this. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, where do we even start with this, right? Obviously, as you mentioned, it's clearly propaganda. I think, what's the most interesting part about this is that Tucker Carlson is such a magician that he's convinced his audience, freedom-loving, red-blooded Americans, that somehow, some guys throwing a rock through a CVS window, protesting the unlawful death of black citizens at the hands of the state is somehow way worse than trying to overturn an election, a freely democratic election, right? These are supposed to be freedom-loving people. It's kind of amazing that Tucker Carlson has pulled that switcheroo on these people. And obviously it's hate speech, obviously it's propaganda. I think, excuse me, the saddest part about this, and I think it's tricky for us on the left, is, from my vantage point after January 6th, I was put a little bit at an unease by the idea that what was needed was like more police spending, domestic terrorism, and we gotta get more police involved. When it's just like, secure the Capitol, like secure the Capitol. That's all we needed to do. So I think they're taking advantage of the sort of rhetoric that came out of it, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, very well said. Let me shift gears to another Tucker Carlson dynamic, okay? Let's just go to the video. Here it is.
Excuse me, why are you guys still wearing masks out here 2 years later? Like, what's the reason? Especially how old's your kid? 2? Yeah. A mask on a 2-year-old, that's child abuse, brother. Come on, man, like, common sense. You know that COVID has a 99.9% survival rate, right? Oh, you got a beautiful baby in here. Nice. Beautiful. Make sure you don't put a mask on. She's too young to wear a mask, But like, seriously though, it's like 2 years later, why are we still wearing masks, Like, do you know why? Like,
you don't have to be recording, bro.
Oh, am I recording?
Yeah, I can see you recording. You don't have to be recording.
Oh. Well, why are you wearing a mask? You're throwing away my freedom. You're throwing away my freedom, sir.
Well, that's up to you.
Don't you have like a job?
You got something else better?
Ma'am, they're engaged. They're making their little kid wear a mask. That's 2 years old. That's child abuse, isn't it?
It's okay. It's fine. What are you doing?
Like, I feel like I should call the police.
Why? Why are you telling somebody?
I feel like I should.
Where are you?
I might have to. That's child abuse.
Go ahead, call it for me.
Yeah.
Sir, they're making their 2-year-old wear a mask. That's child abuse. Exactly, that's child abuse.
She's breathing, she's okay.
She's good, she's all right.
She ain't doing nothing to you.
Okay, I just want to make sure that she's all right, People are crazy out here, dude.
Yeah, I've worn a mask forever, bro, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. Anti-mask.
I wish a Karen would walk up to me and my child in the grocery store and start talking about the mask that I have on my little one is child abuse. And this family started to explain their reasoning, having a cordial conversation with this guy, which he did not deserve. But you have to wonder, where did he get this idea from? All child advocate organizations, they have had to release statements saying wearing a mask, putting a mask on a child is not child abuse. It's insane they've had to make this distinction public. But where does he get the idea from that it is his job to approach parents? It is his job to tell parents that he needs to call the police and that this is somehow child abuse. Tucker Carlson, let's put it up. Fox News host Tucker Carlson raged against the idea of wearing face mask, telling his viewers to do what? To openly mock those that they see wearing masks outside. Your response when you see children wearing masks as they play should be no different from your response seeing someone beat a kid in Walmart. Call the police immediately, Carlson says. Contact Child Protective Services. Keep calling until someone arrives. What you're looking at is abuse. It's child abuse. You are morally obligated to attempt to prevent it. Whoa. Radicalizing the masses. Waz, what are your thoughts?
This is ridiculous. Also, Dr. Richie, I'm sure people are gonna be trick-or-treating in your neighborhood. Yep. You see a child in a mask, call the cops, y'all.
They're abusing themselves.
Child abuse. It's ridiculous. The idea that anybody would fall for this is kind of a sad state of affairs in our nation. This is so. It's easy to see through this nonsense. A child being abused, getting beat up and physically punished to wearing, a simple surgical mask it's the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, but people are believing it, which makes it dangerous. We got more on the other side. Is indisputable. Stick and stay.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT.
300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day. We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me, or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man.
I can see the voice.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted.
Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shopdyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's a fantastic story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let me remind everyone, our power panel, that is today. The Young Turks featuring Jank, Nina Turner. We got John, hour 1, hour 2, Jank, JR, Rodriguez of the upcoming HBO Max comedy special, Fighting Words. That's streaming November 4th, by the way, okay? That's big stuff right there. And it's gonna be hella funny too. Also, Petition. Let's get this done, okay? Here's the reality, all right? Now this may be some sobering medicine here. Progressives are starting to F up, okay? We cannot bow down to corporate Democrats. We cannot engage in the art of gradualism. That's how they get you. That's how they get you right there. We have the numbers. We have the support. We have it. You just have to keep believing it, keep knowing it. We got a petition. Here's the petition. We're urging progressive leaders to stand firm and vote no on the Build Back Better Act if paid family leave is left out. Why is this even a conversation? Why is this even a thing? We got unlimited money to kill people and blow things up. That's called war. They don't count pennies then. Okay, let's be very clear. When COVID hit, we had to depend on what we called essential workers, right? But you don't want to give them essential pay, essential time off. Get real. We see how important human infrastructure is. It's time we actually invest in it, make our dollars make sense. Sign the petition at tyt.com/petitions, tyt.com/petitions, okay? Also, we're on podcast. Make sure you check us out on podcast. Take us anywhere you go. Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo is next. That's right after Indisputable. Always Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. That's a Twitch exclusive. Twitch.tv/TYT. Also, big announcement, new video content creators for Rebel HQ right here at TYT. We're looking for them. We may be looking for you, okay? We're looking for people who can write, produce, host, and edit short form editorial videos on breaking news and political stories with a progressive point of view. If you're interested, go to tyt.com/careers. All right, let me read some of these comments. TYT member, Just Be Anti-Racist says, oh my God, her truth of their experience has me in tears. And this former mayor's sad. Non-apology means nothing without real actions. And here's the kicker. The current mayor, who's not running for mayor again, could go ahead and fix it right now. They could fix it. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, the government can take your property to benefit the majority. Right, it's called the public use doctrine. They never mentioned that they also do it for the benefit of private corporations who want to satisfy their greed. And I will argue this, Mickey, it's always for the benefit of private, always. Because even if they turned it into a public park, who develops the public park? The private company, okay? So it's always a benefit to the private industry. Lynn, what is Tucker's end game? Tucker Carlson's end game? Money. That's his end game, to make more money. I mean, these gullible individuals are going to keep paying for this garbage. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon. Make sure you pack your Proton cameras, wear the anti-carrying uniforms, and charge your KRN meters this Halloween, because busting makes you feel good. Grady Baby Dragon, are you a real Grady Baby? Wait a minute. Are you a Grady Baby for real? I'm talking about, it must be two Gradys. If it's one Grady, you are from Atlanta, Grady baby, I need some clarification here. Are you talking about the Grady? Grady Baby Dragon says, flying out tomorrow, gonna rock my I Wish a Karen Wood shirt at Hartsfield. Thanks for what you do. Yeah, that's a Grady baby. That is a Grady baby. Thank you so much for repping like that. All right, we got more. Alexa, Meryl Dragon Queen, apologies aren't helping this woman and these people. Nope, not at all. Luann, Hedrick Wood, MLK Jr. is rolling over in his grave right now, knowing what the elitists in the NAACP are doing to their own people. Mojo Quid from Twitch, Dr. Richie, have you heard about the nonsense at Hazard High School in Kentucky? Getting more information about that, but yes. Hippie Spot, they should have relocated the homes or people to new homes first. That is criminal. And they would agree with you in that community. It's actually criminal. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off! I'm going to tell African-American man threatening my life.
Welcome to racism at a bar I went to tonight.
I just heard Asian hate, and I'm over that whole narrative because tell me, what is the Asian hate?
There's no Asian hate?
There's no Asian hate.
And that is an actual criminal offense.
I mean, I don't see the Asian hate.
I totally agree with both of you that
there's
there have been so many protests about Asian hate. Oh my God. Pay attention.
Pay attention to what? Okay, but now you're saying all these Asian people are being discriminated against. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So who? Tell me. I'm actually a person of color because my dad
you've said that so many times, and I think that's the one thing you've said that I can agree with.
You feel oppressed?
Yeah, I feel oppressed.
How do you feel oppressed?
Because I'm a minority in the U.S.
That's all the argument was. Jump on the bandwagon, dude. Like, really? In what way, though? What way are you oppressed? Are you not able to get a job? You can't go to school. You can't get an education. You can't get it. Like, tell me how.
Hate speech, hate crime. I was racially profiled this week. Yeah, I know what race is.
My daughter loves Japanese. I'm saying Asian hate. Like, where's the Asian hate? I know. I'm Asian. I don't feel anything.
The coronavirus? You're aware of the coronavirus.
I'm a nurse, so I absolutely.
Okay, so you know what's happening with that.
Yes.
And do you know the amount of Asian people who are attacked because of that, calling it the China virus, the fact that people are beaten down for the fact there are legal records about it?
That's a false narrative. So you're going to
where the actual legal law comes.
It sucks like 10 times worse when it's your own people, but apparently Asian hate isn't real, so I learned that tonight. That internalized racism, that belief that just because you don't experience something means that other people don't experience it, that everything has to do with your own self-actualization of real world events, blows my mind.
That blew my mind too. Now, my Asian brothers and sisters, they are part of the coalition. They are part of the movement, the struggle. We are on the same team. We are stronger as a united front. Like this, we're weak, but like this, we are strong, right? Now, I will say this. Every demographic, every ethnicity, we have had this conversation with somebody in our family or community, so to speak. I do find it quite interesting that the individuals who claim to be Asian as well say that they're tired of this narrative of Asian hate. Well, imagine those who have experienced the narrative that you're tired of. Asian hate based on regional science is on the rise by up to 833%. Nationally, that number pans out at about 120 to 150% depending on how you classify and categorize the data. Waz, what are your thoughts?
You know, I think if this lady would have came out and said, well, you know, as Asian people, our plight probably isn't as bad as poor people in Mississippi or the hayseeds in the trailer parks of West Virginia who are dealing with an opioid crisis, et cetera, et cetera. Our lot in life in this country probably isn't as horrible as those people. I'd be like, you probably have a point, but that doesn't make the hate against Asian people any less real. I think her point was just like, I don't feel like a victim, so you should shut the hell up, which is just, that's not useful. It's just, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't solve anything. The conversation was just about a woman who, she wants to feel strong. She wants to feel like she's not a victim. She wants to feel like she has agency in her life, and how she expresses that is by shutting down any conversation from people whose experiences don't mirror her own. Yeah. And I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, and it will not add remedy because you can't change what you fail to acknowledge. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off. I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Listen, you little punk. We're going to get some of your own age right now, okay? Well, see, I don't care that you're a kid, eh? Shave your head in. Shut up, you little bitch. Stop for crack, you little. Do you? Go back to your own country, man. Learn some respect. Hey, white boy, what are you doing? If you ain't white, you ain't.
He used the N-word. He wanted to beat up children. This is a mail carrying in Canada, okay? He is in fact dangerous. They have not identified this individual, so we are going to make him really famous. He is taunting children in this situation. Was ridiculous, right?
Mental health, man. We need a mental health apparatus out here, dude. Like, people like this, they need to talk to somebody professionally. The idea that you're in public this freaking angry all the time and at children at that, like that's absurd. Forget about the racial epithets and things of that nature. That's obviously a guy screaming out for help who has his own issues. I just think we need to get our mental health, social safety net in order so people like this can get some damn help, and not, because again, we say this almost every single episode, Dr. Richie. That dude could walk up on the wrong people and like get hurt physically.
Yeah, and listen, man, I do not advocate for violence, but that may be the help he needs. Sometimes, let's be 100, brother. Let's be 100. Sometimes, every now and then, a well-placed ass whooping is what the doctor ordered. All right, man, I got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not going to want to lose, and he's going to run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's no bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
No, but
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? They're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Idarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better. Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate. I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real. For us, this system isn't working. Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna
At TYT, our vision is to be the leading global brand in news and talk by serving the audience with authentic commentary and analysis and to become the digital campfire for the world. And we plan to accomplish that by serving the audience with uniquely authentic commentary and analysis. Put another way, we seek to make TYT into the digital campfire for the world. Today, the traditional mainstream media, along with the government and many of our cherished institutions, have unfortunately been captured by corporate interests. Audiences increasingly sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether it's broadcast and cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. Instead, the audience is turning to alternative news sources online, the TYT network preeminent among them. Unlike our competitors in the traditional media, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. And unlike conservative sites online, we're not bankrolled by billionaires looking to push their right-wing propaganda. We only answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've delivered by producing honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Glad you all are still here. Let's go to Super Chat. Chia Will says, good to see you, Dr. Richard. Keep up the great work. God bless, and God bless you as well. Thank you, Chia Will. For Primus, Karen-splaining. That's what it was. Yeah. Ricardo Chucky, oh my God, this is why I don't leave my house, LOL. Jim Weaver, Desired of Dragon. Doesn't surprise me a bit. I have a Korean friend who doesn't think systemic racism is a thing because she, as an adorable Asian woman, has not experienced it. Twitch, Triple X Cisco, KID Triple X. POC that want to mentally assimilate to the oppressive systems are the worst because they're willing to sell out their own people. Izzy_Omega, such a strong man yelling at teenagers from behind a fence. Trashy. Yeah. All right. You know, I really like this person. She calls herself Aunt Karen. She's an influencer on social media. She infiltrates white-only groups. And she makes a mess of things. Here's the latest.
Here's what it's like being the only black person in a White Lives Matters group. People accusing Netflix of praising sinners that are gay and trying to get the youth to believe that Black Lives Matter. And of course, reminding us what the world would look like without white people. My personal favorite, a declaration to say there is so little love for white people in this world, even from other white people. Too many good white people suffer needlessly. And guys, look out for each other. And random promotion to go to whiteprideradio.com, which is exactly what you think it is. And their loving hate for me, with 103 comments trying to bash me and find out who I am. Now, I didn't know this, but apparently Trump and Jesus are like this. And to remind us that they're human, this little photo here of this puppy. So make sure you follow for more.
So she sets up these accounts. You know, in order to get entry, you have to answer questions and, you know, you have to look the part, right? And then there's, okay, yeah, you're one of us. And then she gets in And she's able to see exactly what their conversation is. I think that's very important, especially socially right now. We need to know the conversation of the other side. So she's able to expose it. Well, now they're coming after her. She's exposed who she is. They want all the dirt on her. Here's the update.
Okay, so I have this White Lives Matter group that I've secretly infiltrated, but now they know I'm in there. But what they don't know is that I have like 4 profiles in there. So they kicked out one of my profiles, but there's like a ton more. And all of you guys that are helping infiltrate this group, I love you. So look, we gotta take this group down. Like, we have to take this group down. Also, the trolling in this group is amazing right now. I'm terrified where this will go. Yes, Superman is now black. And even better, like, they want to find everything on me right now. They're like, we got to find out who this is.
Uncaring for president, okay? This takes skill, what she's doing. I'm actually glad she's doing it, providing levity in the situation, but she's exposing real content that we need to be aware of. And they think they are in safe places with all of this racist rhetoric. Waz, what are your thoughts, man?
At least the puppy was brown, you know? At least we got one of them to sneak up in there, Dr. Rich.
That was it. That probably overloaded them that day. Like, wait a minute now, damn it. That's too much color on this page.
Yeah, and just the idea of, white people being the saviors of the world, it ignores the fact of just white people in America here alone, right? I've been lucky enough, I would say, to be around white people who aren't, coastal elites, aren't in major metropolitan areas. Like, I'm sorry, like, it's not the lost city of Atlantis, okay? Like, these places are cool, but we're not gonna pretend that the white people in those areas are just, living in the most magnificent settings ever. For them to show like a shanty town, I'm sure somewhere in the third world or, West Africa somewhere, is just ridiculous. Like, we know how white people live, stop it.
Yeah, and once again, it's a way to significantly divide based on a social narrative rooted in a white supremacist core, where all of the dogma says we are better, we are white, we are supreme. And that's the idea behind these groups. And let me now bring your attention to a very dangerous legal precedent. Very dangerous. Let's start with his picture. Put up the picture of David Duval. David says he was fired because he was white. No evidence of this, by the way. David sued. David got $10 million, landmark decision. A Michigan man who sued his employer after alleging that he was fired because he is a white man has now been awarded $10 million in a landmark judgment by a North Carolina jury, okay? According to a report from CBS News, David Duval was fired in 2018 from his role as Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications for Novant Health. He sued the company the following year. In the suit, Duval claims that he was replaced by a black woman. Well, that's all the data he needs. That's evidence enough. He was fired and they hired a black woman. Obviously, this is white male discrimination. And a white woman shortly after his 5th anniversary with the company as part, as he said, as part of an intentional campaign to promote diversity in its management ranks, okay? However, Novant Health, which is based in Winston-Salem, denied the allegations, saying that Duval was fired for deficient performance and for delegating critical duties to his subordinates instead of completing them himself. Let's put up his picture again. Let's do that. Yeah, that's what he did. I can look at his face and tell. He looks like the guy who's going to tell everybody else what to do. rather than, he just looks like that fella to me. Now, I'm not the judge, I wasn't on the jury, I'm just saying by the way he looks, okay? All right, according to the company, he told others what to do rather than doing jobs himself. We are extremely disappointed with the verdict as we believe it is not supported by the evidence presented at trial, which includes our reason for Mr. Duvall's termination, said a Novant Health spokesperson. This is a dangerous precedent that could lead to more reverse racism discrimination cases in the United States. It also creates a false narrative that white men can discriminate against, that white men discriminate against based on race. They legalize that viewpoint in the court of law. So here's what has happened now, and this is why it's important to follow. The ruling has now become what we know as common law or case law. It sets judicial precedent, which now that precedent can be argued in similar cases that are filed anywhere in the United States of America. This needs to be overturned and overturned quickly. Now, I want to remind everyone, they presented virtually no evidence other than the fact that he was replaced by a black woman and then a white woman later. There was no email, no smoking gun. Nobody said on record or off record, we got rid of him because he's white. And the threshold is really, really high when you have to prove these cases in a court of law. For some reason, they let the threshold come way down here to award him 10 million bucks. Waz, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think that last part of what you mentioned is the most important one, right? If every black person, Latino person, Asian person, woman, gay person was replacing their job, every time they were replacing their job by a white man, listen, so many people would be getting tens of millions of dollars, right, Dr. Richie? Because that's generally what happens. Or, generally a white guy just doesn't lose his job, period, for any reason whatsoever. It's kind of sad to see this devolve into this sort of, as soon as a black person, as soon as a woman, as soon as somebody from a marginalized group ascends to any type of prominent roles in a company, it's gotta be because of some race quota or some affirmative action. And that's what I think is poisonous about our current discourse about representation, equity, et cetera, et cetera. These guys then weaponize it whenever people of actual merit ascend to roles that they actually deserve. It's fascinating to see where this thing is gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna keep our eyes on it because it sets a ridiculous and harmful precedent, and it should be overturned as soon as possible. Let me bring your attention to a student inside of a chicken coop. Here's the picture, okay? We blurred out the faces for obvious reasons. This is in Texas. The Forson Independent School District is currently investigating 2 pictures that are circulating through social media that parents are calling racist, okay? The first photo was taken sometime last year and posted on Snapchat. It shows a black student in a chicken coop, okay? With a caption that says, starting the bidding at $2,000. That's what it says. Let's put up the second one. The second and most recent photo shows 3 girls holding up their phones to spell out a racial slur. Of course, we have blurred that slur. Randy Johnson, the superintendent of schools, said the district learned about this last Friday and began their investigation. At that time, the district is taking the situation very seriously and does not condone this behavior. Forson does have a bullying policy that's listed on their website, where it is stated that bullying may be verbal or written expression through electronic means or physical conduct. That fits. As of Friday, Johnson told KWS reporter Christina Burgess Some students in these pictures have received some disciplinary action. Now, anytime I do a story like this, I want to remind you, my focus is not on the kids. It is unfortunate. I feel very bad for the young man or other kids who are victims of this. But where do you think those bullies and those expressing racist sentiment, where do you think they learned it from? This is still an indictment on the culture that produced them, okay? They learned it from somewhere. Johnson said, and I quote, "It was obvious that some were involved and we were able to deal with that beginning on Friday right away. It is a disciplinary issue and we are working through that process. According to this information, the school district will continue to investigate." Wiles, we're seeing this a lot, man. We're seeing these extreme racist elements on school campuses and sometimes beyond that. High school students go on to social media with their face, with their profile, with the racism, no problem.
Yeah, and obviously we know where this is filtering down from, right? You listen to hate radio, right-wing radio, talk radio, you watch Fox News as an adult, it's gonna filter down to your kids because that's all you're talking about. That's all you're ever aggrieved about. And I wanna tell people, like, I don't view what these kids are doing any differently than when I'm at the supermarket and I see kids throwing cereal boxes on the floor. And I'm just like, look, as somebody who doesn't have kids of my own, I do a lot of judging of of parents. And when I see kids acting out in public, that's a reflection of you, parent. You need to do a better job. Your kids learned this behavior. You obviously aren't setting the right example at home. And when I see kids doing this kind of bigoted stuff that they think is funny to, depict a slave auction or call minorities racial epithets, that's, to me, that's obviously coming from the parents, and the kids are just getting that via osmosis of spending so much time with their own family. But yeah, I judge the parents, I do.
Yeah, and you have to. You got to remember, every kid that's born, they're born a blank slate. They're not born racist. They're not born bigoted. They're not born violent or mean or discourteous. They learn those things. Those are atmospherics. It's based on your social dynamic, the way you connect with the broader world around you. I tell my college students something every semester, and this is right before I administer final exams. I say, listen, being smart is important, okay? That's your IQ, your intellectual quotient. But when you get out of college, when you start interacting with the broader world around you, your IQ is not as important as your EQ. Your EQ is your emotional quotient. Nobody cares how smart you are if they don't like you, if you cannot connect emotionally with others around you, all right? Waz, how can people follow you, brother? BIGWOS, Big Waz on every single social media platform. Of course, if you care about the NBA at all, please check out my coverage of the NBA at theringer.com and Ringer NBA podcast. Of course, as you mentioned at the top of the show, I do a podcast with fellow TYT contributor Nando Vila called The Woke Bros. Get that on every single podcast platform. And yeah, check out Wozniak every single Tuesday, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time on Twitch via the TYT Twitch network. Check all of that stuff out. I hope you get your fill of Big Waz. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man. Always great to have you on the show. Anytime, brother. All right, we got more. Bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show. No,
We'll see. Poor
Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? Now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Idarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me to Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay?
The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Idarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, baby. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it. We will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Laura Ingraham.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip in the Republicans. See, don't miss the live show.
That's great.
Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back, it's indisputable. All right, let me read some of these viewer comments. We got a lot of them. We'll read as many as I can. Don't forget, Friday Power Panel. Don't forget that, okay? Big time. The Young Turks, you got Jank, Nina, John, hour 1, hour 2, Jank, JR, Rodriguez. That's going, Rodriguez from the upcoming HBO Max comedy special, Fighting Words. Streaming, that's November 4th, is streaming, okay? You don't wanna miss the show today. Also, petition. We have a petition out urging progressive leaders in Congress, stand firm, don't back down, do not allow them to take out the Family Leave Act, the provision that gives it more meat. Don't do that. That would be a mistake, okay? All right, you can't keep calling them essential workers and you deny them essential pay, essential time off, and essential everything else. That's a mistake, all right? Petition is real simple, tyt.com/petitions, tyt.com/petitions. Don't forget, we are on podcast. Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo is next. That's a Twitch exclusive, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/TYT. All right, let me read the comments. TYT member Lynn says, is that group she infiltrated the Tucker Carlson fan club? One and the same. I mean, it doesn't have to say Tucker Carlson fan club. You know what it is. JMD, they need to appeal the judgment, jury decision, and the state court has little judicial precedent compared to appellate or Supreme Court decisions, but they need to nip it in the bud. Someone citing this result. You are absolutely correct. And that's why the appellate process needs to take place immediately, because no lawyer would cite this case if it was overturned on legal appeal. That's exactly right. YouTube super chat, Luann Hetrick Wood. That woman is so brave to do what she's doing. I think she is hilarious. Yeah, that is absolutely correct. 42 Lark says, if he only used a tanning bed or something, maybe he wouldn't have lost his job. Jim Garcia, North Carolina jury, enough said. Silver Knight Dragon, sounds like the judge had an axe to grind and saw the opportunity. Or maybe the jury did, you know? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. Yep, in the bullpen today, we have Mr. Travis Nix, associate contributor, Young Voices, also a current JD candidate at Georgetown Law with a concentration in tax law. Welcome to the show, how are you?
I'm good, thank you so much for having me.
Well, listen, man, you and I both are currently in law school. So, you know, did you make your first year?
I did. Glad to be doing. Glad to make it to the second year for sure.
Yeah, it's like a hazing process, is it not? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, brother. Congratulations on your studies. Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to chop it up about the Build Back Better plan and general taxation rules as it relates to left-leaning, right-leaning policies. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about those items. So if you would, give us your sentiment.
Yeah, when you're talking about tax policy, you're really talking about two different things. One, you're talking about the tax base. That's measuring who's paying the taxes and what types of income we are taxing. And then we have tax rates, which is obviously the percentage of taxable income that people pay in taxes. So when we're talking about tax policy, my general principles are that we need a broad tax base. We need to eliminate deductions to really neutralize the tax code to make sure that government is not picking winners and losers in the economy, that promotes economic growth and does good things for the economy. But then when we do broaden the tax base by eliminating deductions, we need to drastically lower tax rates to spur investment, lower the cost of capital, especially on businesses. And the only bill in history to do that is the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, versus what the Democrats are currently proposing is to have a very narrow tax base, have minimum taxes that only 45 corporations in America pay, and have a small handful of billionaires paying taxes, and then they're gonna increase tax rates. That goes against all principles of good tax policy.
Muted, Doc.
Sorry about that, thank you. Let's talk about taxation as a regressive element. Do you believe that the taxation process in the United States of America, Democrats and Republicans, it has largely been used as a regressive policy for most in the country, or do you see it differently?
No, we have a very progressive tax code in the United States. For example, 40% of all income taxes are paid by the top 1% of income earners. 97% of all taxes in the US are paid by the top 50% of income earners. We have a much more progressive system than, let's say, countries like the UK, which has their top rates start at a much lower income level than the US. And they also fund government programs through consumption taxes, which are a lot more progressive than the income taxes that the US federal government relies on for a bulk of their tax revenue.
Let me bring some specifics to your front door, because I do think there are some regressive elements and it harshly penalizes those who are poor on the economic scale than it should be. Let me give you an example. So a family for home care cost out of pocket currently pays about $1,500 per year just for 4 hours of home care per week. Currently, there is no plan, there is no federal program that would assist that family, and the deduction ratio is so low that most of them receive nothing in a payback for paying for that child care expense. But the Build Back Better plan says this is something we need to remedy. This is something we've overlooked for a very long time. COVID-19 has exposed the reality or the cause and effect relationship between people that need to work, who are parents, and the cost of healthcare, right? So it creates an ecosystem response where now, because we never did solve this issue for those who are essential workers, those essential workers who never got essential pay, they don't go to work, not because they can't work, not because they don't want to work, but because they can't afford childcare. And now you have other systems that are adversely impacted because of that. My point to you is, it's not just the taxation policy, it's also connected to the ecosystem of how the taxation policy interrupts the life beyond that, to where a person who doesn't have as much disposable income ends up having a regressive policy as it relates to childcare. That's in the act, the Build Back Better program. Do you agree or disagree with that element of the act?
I disagree with it, and I don't think it would have any impact on getting people with young children back to work. Jason Furman, the chairman of President Obama's Economic Council, he just a few months ago released a study, and it showed that paid family leave will have zero impact on people working. I disagree with Mr. Furman on a lot of tax policy, but he is absolutely right here. There's very little evidence that paid family leave programs will get people back to working. And we do have a tax code, getting back to taxes and not spending for a second. We do have a tax code that does help family, and that does subsidize a little bit of families' childcare. We have a child tax credit that the Republicans doubled in the 2017 tax bill, and also increased the refundable portion of it to make sure that families who don't pay income taxes still receive a large portion of the child tax credit. That does not help them subsidize their care.
Yeah, it's not enough. So let me make sure I'm right on what you're saying. You're saying that the money that would be allowed to come back to families under the Build Back Better program for expenses related to childcare, you're saying that this would have zero impact on the job market or a person's ability to work freely in the economy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll have minimum to zero. Mr. Furman's paper put that out. The Joint Economic Committee this week released a paper that showed a similar thing. And I think the crux of it is, okay, who's not working because of childcare? It's mothers. And a lot of studies show that a lot of mothers with children do not want to work. Recent Gallup poll in 2019. Recent Gallup poll in 2019.
It's one thing to say somebody doesn't want to work, but the reality is, in this country, most mothers do actually work. They have some level of employment. So you can't cite a study about what somebody wants to do. We're talking about actual data. So cite to me something that's an actual data set.
Yeah. In 2019, Gallup released a poll saying that 50% of mothers with children under 18 do not want to work. They want to stay home with their children.
But they all work.
That's a Gallup poll. They don't all work.
But they are working. Okay, wait a minute. Brother, you just said to me that a Gallup poll said 50% of mothers don't want to work, right? Which means your variable, right? Which means your variable is what? Your variable is mothers who are working with children. They don't want to work.
No, the poll measured mothers with with children under the age of 18.
Were those mothers working mothers or not?
There was a cross sample of it. I assume it was based on percentage of working mothers that do work and don't work. I assume Gallup has a good sample for both of them to accurately reflect the demographics of the US.
That's an assumption that I would like you to research if you're gonna cite the numbers. Let me give you another number, okay? 44%. 44% of black mothers say that their ability or inability to hire childcare or to pay for childcare expenses adversely impacts their ability to go to college or to work. When you say that it would have a zero or very minimal impact, explain that to the black women who are cited in the survey. Now, here's the other part. It's interesting to me that we say, okay, these policies won't have any impact whatsoever. Literally 16% of school teachers during the height of COVID-19 said that they couldn't even go to school and work because they could not afford childcare for their own children at home. You have to understand this. They couldn't afford childcare at home because every daycare center was still shut down while schools were starting to reopen. That's 16% of educators. National Association of Educators, you can find it. So tell me, how are you still proclaiming that it would have zero impact based on some study when we have actual bona fide evidence of people that it has adversely impacted?
That's not empirical evidence. That's evidence based on a few stories.
No, that's not. Wait, hold on. No, sir, you are absolutely incorrect by that citation. That's not only empirical, that is experiential. That's experiential evidence. That means it has already happened. You don't need a theory or a study or a survey. This is what has already happened. These are real human beings that have had this experience, and they have taken this experience, done a survey, and said to the government, you need to change this part of it. It would help us out, or it would have helped us out if this policy was already in place. Why are you still depending on the study when you actually have the evidence, brother? I don't understand that.
Well, maybe we shouldn't have closed. Maybe states shouldn't have closed down daycares. And then we have other evidence.
Well, that's a different argument.
Yeah, there's also polling data that shows that 70% of working mothers would also rather stay home with their child and provide parental or relative care to their children instead of sending them to daycare centers.
You know what the problem is with your argument, brother? You keep talking about what mothers would like to do, and in a perfect world they can. But we live in a very imperfect society where women are making 60 cents on the dollar as their male counterparts in the workplace, being similarly educated with similar experience. We have an active political class that opposes equal pay for equal work. So mothers are forced to make ends meet. So you can argue what mothers would like to do. I'm all for it. I'm all for anyone who would like to spend more time with their children, but you're not arguing the data back with me. You're arguing sentiment. The reality is the data is codified, it's clear. The data says that those who have expenses, especially related to childcare, would be better off in the work market that they have to work in to make ends meet if there was a level of subsidy beyond what it is. How do we debate that? That's what they are telling us. They've already said that to us, brother.
Yeah, but I think there's different ways to go around it than doing paid family leave, which the studies show won't have any impact, and doing other types of subsidizing childcare like universal pre-K that working women, according to the data, shows that they do not want to use. So I think there's other ways to get around it. For example, we can have a universal child allowance that Mitt Romney proposed that would consolidate all these different tax programs that benefit low income earners with children. Let's consolidate those and get closer to a universal child care program. That's a Republican proposal that was revenue neutral. That's one way to help working families and put more money in their pockets.
Tell me this, man, what's your beef with family leave? What is your issue with it?
I think the data shows that it will not help children and that it will not be used. It's a subsidy. And it'll grow over time, and you're using very narrow tax bases to pay for a program that will just cost more to the government over time, lead to more national debt and higher inflation rates that Americans are so struggling with right now.
Come on, brother, you're a taxation concentration guy. What is the number one catalyst for inflation?
It's right now, it's probably supply chain issues.
It's always 100% of the time. It's the cost of manufacturing, which creates a supply chain issue. You have to pay more for the cost, and the consumer market drives. It becomes the catalyst for the inflation. You can't tell me that a social program is the primary factor for inflation. Why do you guys try that? Why y'all always try to make that argument when 100% of the time when we've had inflation in the United States, it was because of the cost of manufacturing that was the catalyst behind it? Come on, man.
When government debt rises and deficit rise, you have to pay that debt, which raises interest rates, which causes inflation to grow over time. Right now with inflation, we're talking about most likely temporary measures, although with the amount of government spending that can create demand pull inflation.
Who holds the record for government spending?
Right now, probably President Trump.
Yeah, and how long does it take for inflation to set in into a general economy?
A very long time.
It does. So if you're saying that a program today will create inflation today, you're literally saying.
I never said inflation today. I said
okay. So you're saying it'll create inflation 20 years from now or 10 years from now. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, you'll put inflation and raise prices on your kids and grandkids.
Okay, let me be very clear about some of the benefits of the Paid Family Leave Act. Number one, it ensures that there's a protection for the family unit for those who need to take that time. And really, other industrial nations, they have prioritized people over profit in this arena. Usually when you all come to the argument about Family Leave Act or family leave time, the argument is a money argument. Here's the thing, man. And I want you to hear me on this, brother, because you're a sharp guy and I think you're gonna do great things in life. Government is not a company. And I want to say that again. Government is not a company, it's not a corporation. The government makes no money. All the money the government has, it came from us. It came from us because we want the government to do some things that are people-centric and not just profit-centric. So yes, it does cost money. It costs more money to invest into human capital, to invest into your human infrastructure, but it's worth it. It's worth it for work morale. It's worth it for spending time with their child. It's worth it to have the additional income to do exactly what needs to be done. It's worth it on all of those arenas, all of those fronts. It's worth it. But don't you find it ironic, brother, that you have never heard anybody go before Congress and argue? It would be great to go to war with Iraq or Iran or wherever, but we just don't have it in the budget. We have unlimited money to kill people and blow things up. It's called the Department of Defense spending. But all of a sudden, when it comes to these domestic social programs that takes the money that they took from us to invest it back into us as working citizens, all of a sudden there's an argument about how much it costs, when it is barely a fraction of what we spend to kill people around the nation or around this globe. You don't find that ironic?
No, the defense budget is an important part of American national security, American foreign policy. It's very important that we have a national defense, especially right now when China is talking about invading one of our best allies in Taiwan.
Do you know how much we spend on defense? Do you know how much? What's the percentage?
900 billion a year.
And how much of that 900 billion is actually spent on defense? Do you know?
It depends how you define defense.
Okay. Defense is actual defense of the country. We're not talking about major contractors building this or building that or experimental programs or projects but just think about it, man. The vast majority of it doesn't go to defense spending. You're aware of that.
Yeah, it goes to protecting America's national interests around the world.
You're falling for it. Travis, you're falling for it, man. You're falling for it. Here's what I would love for you to do, because I actually think you would agree with me on this when you look at the itemization of defense spending, what they have called defense spending. They call it defense spending so you don't peep under the hood. They don't want you to look at what they're actually spending the money on. Over 80% of what they call defense spending is not defense spending at all. And I encourage you, just look under the hood, brother. Look under the hood and look at the itemization. And next time you come back on the show, let's talk about what they're actually spending our tax dollars on and if you agree with it, okay?
Yeah, I mean, there's government spend. The government wastes money. I'm not out here to say that there is no wasteful spending going on in the Pentagon. There is, because the government, especially the US government, loves to waste money.
All right, on that we agree. All right, brother. I appreciate you being on the show. My producers are telling me I'm out of time. Man, good luck to you in your status. I hope you come back. I appreciate you being on the show today. And we'll talk again, man, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Make sure you take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of this planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.